After all the success and momentum of a major championship here on the LPGA Tour of Korea, we are back to action. It is our pleasure to welcome you back to the tour and welcome you to the OK Savings Bank OK MAN Open for 3 rounds, 54 holes of stroke play at Club 72 here in Jeongu. The KB Financial Group Star Championship and the drama and storylines that had unfolded at it brought more than we could have possibly hoped for our penultimate major championship of the season. And as the tour continues, well, so many of those names that were right around the top of the leaderboard heading into Sunday just some 5 days ago are right back in action. And the conditions, well, they are reminiscent of late Thursday. It is 27 degrees and it is raining. And it's not just a little drizzle. It's not quite a torrential downpour, but it is steady and has been since this morning. We have some rather significant winds as well that will make its presence known across the Sky course here at Club 72. And as we flash across the course to a few of our usual suspects in this opening round, what we can tell you is that there are 3 players currently sharing the #1 spot on the leaderboard. That is Lee Chae-eun, Lee Dong-eun, and Lee Jae-young. And if you notice a pattern, and certainly those who were with us throughout last week will certainly notice Lee Dong-eun, the rookie who was not the rookie last week. Of course, there was only one player who could take that honor, but she had shot the almost tournament-shaking round to finish the Sunday, vaulting up into the top 10, but was second best through no fault of her own after a rather exceptional Sunday. It is 54 holes of stroke play. It is a par 72, of course, fitting for a club called Club 72, this facility that has seen Jack Nicklaus's golf design group lend their keen eye and experience. 6,723 yards, 6,147 meters will be the distance across the Hanu, or the Sky course here. Chung Yoon-ji, she is no stranger to an early tournament impact. Been a bit slow to find the birdies, and with the rain continuing to pelt down, that should come to nobody's surprise. And Park Han-young rolls in just past a 2-meter putt for a birdie of her own. Of course, she had been a story last week, how bravely, how great she started, and how she had whimpered to a conclusion. And now Pang Min-ji with a putt for birdie. She lips around the left edge and pops out the other side. What was headline grabbing about her tournament last week was the fact that she missed the cut. Certainly as a previous champion of the event, the expectations would be set higher. Fresh off her putt for birdie, that brought her ever closer to the top 10. Park Han-young begins on hole number 7. In the meantime, we go to 8. It's a par 3, and we find Hung Yoo-min making a beeline to the back left corner. Hits and sticks and does not roll in either direction from there. certainly here at the par 3 8th, that tailwind is giving more than just your run-of-the-mill assist towards the back of the green. Anything, quite frankly, on the putting surface here would be considered a win. Leaves Yunina, who is even through 7. It will be a 9-iron for her. Certainly, she was one of the protagonists on Sunday. Some inconsistent play over the weekend saw her fall just short, though she had quite the remarkable Sunday to put herself back into contention. And when that ball finally stays put, she will find herself the furthest from the pin on number 8. So certainly the conditions are less than ideal for the opening round of 3 of the OK Savings Bank OKMAN Open here at Club 72, the Hanai course, also in vernacular that's more familiar to us, the Sky course. This is an event that has been around for well over a decade. It's gone through a few names over the years. Last year we would have known it as the OK Financial Group Seri Pack Invitational. It's the 23rd event of the season. Hard to believe that we are within the final 10 here in 2024. Park Young trying to reach up onto the rocky cliff. She clears the obstruction, but will not quite make the green. Stopping on the fringe, though, with this being a bit of a longer hole, it's not to come, excuse me, as much of a surprise. Certainly with any kind of headwind, your chances go from slim to almost slim to none. This is Chung-Yoon Ji on the par 4 9th. Also dealing with the gusts directly into it. She reaches the green, though she has some work to do as she is just on the front and needs to go at least 27 yards deeper. And only on hole number 6, Yoo Hyo-jo, with her approach, lands on the soft greens. That actually does her quite the favor. Keeps her in and around that pin-high area of the green. And now Pungmin Ji will be next beneath that checkerboard poncho. It's a fairly wide green with openings to the left and right. Pungmin Ji finds the former. Well, now it's 7 with no Soong-Yi. She lands in that crescent-shaped bit of rough that separates the fairway from the green and will pop out onto the putting surface. It's a difficult putt with a lot of break and a change of elevation or two. From the front corner of the green, a little bit short. Shakes her head in a bit of disappointment, but my goodness, you see the foliage rustling in the wind behind her, and you wonder how anyone can even survive with pars. 172 in a hybrid for Pei So-hyun at 7, the par 4. Looking about mid-left, and that is in the exact vicinity where she sends that approach shot. It's well struck. day to imagine that for Unina. Only in her wildest dreams would she have seen that birdie go. It is slightly more favorable, but not by much on 9 for Chung Yoon Ji. I'm going to start this to our left of the hole as the break begins and moves it gently back on line. Inside of a meter as the change in direction started. And we'll always have to wonder if, with a little bit more pace, would she have been able to reach all the way. Yoon Da-hyun has been going about her business, wondering, is this the hole? Is this the hole that I get closer to even? Unfortunately for her, her birdie putt, excuse me, is certainly in a respectable final distance, but nothing to influence the scorecard. Just outside of 10 meters, up the hill into the wind for Peng Min-ji. It's a tough putt. Will not be able to reach -2 here. And for Unina, she is able to avoid dropping above par with a clutch par that will keep her at even. As it stands, one of 28 players at that score. We have 120 in contention for the prize this week. Everyone's slice of a person 800 million won. A bit surprising to see Park Ji-young having withdrawn from the event earlier today. We will of course have more information on that situation tomorrow. Speed and power-wise, that was judged almost close to perfect. Basically starting from the fringe, that putt for Park Yeon-young. Really measuring this and hoping for a momentary pause in the wind. Yoo-hyo Jo has gone offline ever so slightly to the inside of the target. No Seung-gi in her putt for birdie was following the curves in the direction of that putt to utter perfection. Just needed an extra rotation or two of the ball, and she would have been able to positively influence that score. Hung Yi-min's body language suggests that's not great, and her caddy gesturing hard to the left would concur with that assessment. As we zoom in closer to the tall grass through the ever-increasing raindrops. that the sophomore is in a lick of trouble. This is 7 with Pei So-hyun, who was one of our true challengers last week. Can't quite say she's picking up where she left off. And she'll be disappointed with the, not just the miss, but the size of the miss over on the par 4. And Yunina would like a touch of the towel. Wipe off the only hand not under the rain glove here at 9 as the wind and the precipitation increase to an even more difficult level. You can hardly see the tee blocks from the target point of the fairway. Generally speaking, we will play in any set of conditions unless the wind is so strong such that the balls either on the green or in the fairway are no longer able to stay still, or if it becomes a danger to the players and their staff, of course. Even by volume alone, you can hear the slight calm in the rain that will allow Yunina to begin at 9. Not quite able to keep that in the fairway. She was left, and perhaps on a sunny or drier day, that shot skips back out into the fairway, but not the case here at the par 4. Panminji with a 1-meter putt for her par. She officially goes out with a 35 with a birdie on the par for 5th and 8 pars otherwise. We mentioned the three-way tie at the top with incredible rounds of 66. Those players are Lee Chae-eun, Lee Dong-eun, and Lee Jae-young. They are at the top of the pack, a 119-player pack, with Han Ji-won and Kim Na-young settling for the second best score, and an additional 6 tied for 6th at 4 under par. Last season, this, what was then known as the OK Financial Group Seri Pack Invitational, took a playoff to decide a champion. And it is already tight in this opening round of 3 here at Club 72. Well, we welcome you back to the OK Savings Bank OK MAN Open with a tee shot on the par 3 8th for Bae So Hyun. She, amongst everyone else who have the, let's call it, timing misfortune in the ways that the groupings were drawn this morning, are dealing with some less than ideal conditions. Here in Incheon, 27 degrees, but a 4-meter-per-second wind, and already 3 millimeters of rain in this hour alone. It should start to slow up the precipitation. Quite frankly, any time really with cloudy skies in the forecast. But these players, they'll just have to sort of get used to this weather. Certainly tomorrow, with 5 to 10 millimeters of rain expected, and Sunday with slightly less precipitation, but the wind and the clouds are expected to persist. It's a reminder for all those who might believe that this game is only played in the sunshine and low winds. That is not quite the case. Back day with Do Sung-mi. It is an 8-iron for her. The pin placement today, you could draw a line straight over the inside of the left bunker by 17 yards, and that's where you'd find the pin. Her accuracy is all the more impressive considering the wind she was contending with. She'll have a reasonable look at a birdie next. Yunina had missed the fairway, was just into the rough 166 meters away, is able to recover onto the green. Well, the birdies, they will be something of a luxury over the course of our coverage, at least. So the scores, when we find them, like we just saw from Park Hae-jun, are worth celebrating a little bit more than normal. So to 2 under. Still fighting with a rather substantial headwind. So we go back to 8, Bae So Hyun. We'll look at a birdie on the par 3 8th. Starting this to the right is going to drift back online. Not too many qualms with that. Weight-wise, it was exactly where it needed to be. Park Young also on the par 3. She had a great idea of what that break would do. Fortunately for her, that the movement did not come until she was already beyond the cup. I'll leave her with a 2.5 meter putt to save a par. That's an excellent finish for No Seung-hee. That is now 3 birdies through 8 holes, tied for 12th. Factoring in all the things that she and everyone else are contending with, that makes that start to the tournament all the more impressive. Well, it's a tournament that's taken place every year since 2010, excuse me, back when it used to be known as the Rush and Cash Charity Classic. It has been known as the OK Financial Group Savory Pack Invitational as late as last year, and it is a competition that is not only proving a battle for the players, but also enabling sharing and donation through golf with various donation programs, and lots to see. Think of some of the winners of this tournament in its day: Kim Yoon, Kim Anul Chanana, Lee Min Young 2, Park Seung-yeon, Lee Jung-eun 6, Kim Reem, amongst others. And just as we saw last week, rookies have won this in the past. Cho Ayan back in 2019 when she's only 24 years old. Now 24 years old, excuse me. And in 2021, Kim Yo-ju, who was with us for the major championship last season as well. Ma Ta-sum is our defending champion. It's a 15 under aggregate score to take the top prize. It was a rather underwhelming start to her tournament, if we're being fair. Only 1 under for the defending champion, tied for 40th. And now Peng Min-ji at the par 5 10th, 97 meters out, makes a beeline to the right side of the green, exactly where she wanted to be. Any more club and she would be risking sailing well past her target. Bae So-hyun, she is dealing with a wet, of course, like everyone else, but the swing wasn't quite right, and the entirety of the club falls or is thrown from her hand after the follow-through. She ends up just off the fairway into the rough. Now over to 9, Yunina just on the front. She sent that tee shot into the rough. Incredible bit of vision to see the strength required. Just ever so slightly to the inside of the pin. Will be her final shot at the turn, the midway mark of this opening round. And it is exactly where she began, at even. Birdie at 3, a bogey a few holes later. 36 on the way out. And back 365 meters to the teeing ground. No Seung-hee, fresh off her 3rd birdie of the opening 8. It is left, but it is in the fairway. She'll take that certainly with the dogleg right nature of this hole without much complaint. Park Young seemingly one of the last holdouts in terms of those who have swapped to a rain glove with that extra grip on their left hand. Perhaps she's wondering if it is long past time to grab that out of the bag as she sends her drive into the rough. And for Hung Yumin, that was a putt for bogey. She still had plenty to do on the par 5, and it's missed. So the next action will be to only drop 2 strokes on this final hole before the turn. And a 10. Essentially a 5-meter putt with lots of left to right break. ENG goes a bit more conservative, offering herself more width. And this little tap-in finish will be for a par. Now, regrettably for Hung Yumin, a double bogey on the final hole of the front 9. She had bogeyed the first as well. Just and only just inside of the top 100. It's T97 at the midway mark. Shots like that for Hung Yumin on the back 9 would go a long way to clawing her way back to even. Delightful approach. Let's see if Park Hae-jun can match. It's 102 for her. I'd say more than match. She is somehow able to surpass both of those competitors in a 4-foot radius. And now back to 10. Look at a birdie on the par 5 for Bung Min-ji. It's 4.7 meters away. And going up the hill, she did not want to leave it short. And for Park Young here, it's not just that she's in the rough, it's how thick the rough will play. She still has the creek and the sand both to clear. It's 188 on the par 4. And hazard a guess that this looks like a 5 wood. Hoping it would sit up for her like a tee. Like it was on a tee. She was able to clear both hazards, but is short after 2 on the par 4. to play No Sungi. That 3-under score is good for tied for 12th. He's also reaching for a bit more club here. From the fairway, it's a little right to left to start the shot. And it's ball flight, and it stays left. And it's a crosswind as opposed to a headwind, otherwise she might have been right at it. It's the simplest of birdie putts. One you have to hit nevertheless. Final approach belongs to So Young here. Of course, a 3-time winner this year. Her run was finally broken last week. From the rough 186 out, and she disappears in and around the hazard stakes. I think she's safely short. Does not take anything away from her last month of golf, where she's won 2 events, tied for 4th at the major last week, and had a T14 of the Hanwha Classic. Action says it all. Settle for a par. That is the outcome as we go back to a few minutes ago on 18. Lee Ji-hyun 3. Unable to avoid a bogey that will reduce her to 2 under. Now she's just at the midway mark of her round. She began on the 10th tee today. Also dealing with some grip frustrations. She loses the handle on the follow through, but believing that that is her in the fairway, it is just fine. And now So Hyun. Should be just inside of 100, though this is what's supposed to be her shot for a birdie. Skips once off the hillside rough and into the sand. Influenced by the crosswind, surely as well. Slight log jam on hole 10 remains. Hung Min finally receives the green light. Unsure if she should like it or not. We'd argue that she probably should, even if it's not quite perched atop the fairway here. After she missed her putt for par, will reduce her score down to 2 under at the midway mark of her round. She was on pace for a 33, ends up going out with a 34, and sits 4 off the leaders. Lee Chae-eun 2, Lee Dong-eun, and Lee Jae-young with 66s to open. Han Ji-won and Kim Na-young tied for 4th at 5 under. 120 invited to participate, 119 still in the hunt, though certainly with the rain and the wind, the birdies are at a premium here today at Club 72. Well, this tournament, along with every other one in the season, all contributing to the race to the WeMix Championship. From last week's major, it was Park Ji-young who made the biggest leap, or the most substantial leap, perhaps we should say, as she trades places with Park Young to be in the #1 position. Hung Yoo-min, of course, this season with her excellent play is inside of that top 10. All leading towards the final tournament of 2024 at the Hyundai Golf and Resort. And we're nearing the end of our first hour of coverage here at Club 72, and it has been a quiet first hour, and even the 90 minutes or so preceding that for Yoonina. Looks as though her second shot from the fairway ends up in a pretty likable position just at the end of that first cut from which she was playing. So we go back to 9. Bae So-hyun from the sand, and it's heavy sand, borderline mud or clay with all the rain. Brings too much power with her and sails past the flagstick by 8 or 9 meters. Now Chung Yoon-ji, she is 1 under after 10. It's a pitching wedge here at 11, 107 out, and is looking for the mid to back left, which is exactly where she heads. Very nice approach. And now No Seung-hee, after an average approach at 9. This is her putt for birdie. It would be her 4th of the front 9. But even for someone who has putted as well as she through midway, that's a pretty big favor to ask. Speaking of 11, the second shot from the fairway, Pang Min-ji, 108. There's not much room past the pin and the end of the green, but that is where one of the superstars of this generation sends her approach. Approach game certainly an area she wants to tighten up this week. One of the reasons why she failed to progress past the second round. Birdies as well would also do a number for Pang Min-ji, just as they had done for Bae So-hyun to this point. She'll be disappointed with that being a bogey, but I think she'll be a bit relieved to only take the 1 drop at the turn. Up at 10, Hung Yoo-min takes a divot and doesn't roll much past it, even with the wind lending a helping hand. Park Young, that will feel absolutely cruel. Calling it a mid-range distance would be doing her no justice. She lips around. And it is her only bogey of the front 9. She had that exceptional run of 3 birdies in a row earlier on the front 9. Go to the par 5 10th next. Yoonina should just be a simple wedge trying to attack the pin. And she's done that. Close to the bullseye. She'll have an uphill putt for a birdie next. Kim In-sol, for her, this is hole 9 of the day. approach at 18. It's a 168-meter effort. Skirts the right side with fairly calm wind, and is helped by with the soft greens to keep her about where she had landed. Mentioned earlier, Hung Yumin in the top 10 in the race of the Wii Mix Championship. She is now 6th after not being able to muster up anything last week with her absence from the weekend. Double saw her score not really reflect how she's played through 9, sitting at +2. If she can navigate this 7.9-meter putt back to the cup, she can reduce that deficit by 50%. And she has it on. Excellent bounce back. Relatively run-of-the-mill uphill putts with little break. Her second birdie of the day. It's a bogey at 1 and a double at 9 that sees her still in the plus scores. Now at 11, Peng Minji hangs her effort for birdie above the hole and is not going to be able to reduce her distance from the top to 4. Speaking of uphill putts, this has some pretty wicked snap to it. She anticipates it, she adjusts for it, and has a well-deserved second birdie of the round. Tag that on to her score from the par 5 third. She's back to 1 under. And Cheng Yun-ji just with a misread and compounds it with some extra speed. She'll have to settle for a par. To 12, Park Hye-jun. Soft pitch into the wind. Ends up about 4 feet short. Seoul on her 9th at even. Some pretty significant right to left movement at the end. Kicks in just in time. So at the turn, she has her first score that's not par of the front 9, and it is a birdie. 1 under after midway. Okay, June trying to preserve this 3 under. Is able to do so with a clutch putt for par. Should have been a long way out, but is able to get up and down without sacrificing her positioning whatsoever. Hyun with a big whack. Sounds great off the club, and the images support that thesis. She arrives safely in the fairway. Everyone in the group is under par, which is quite honestly a rarity, as group 29 is finally able to begin their back nine. Updating the leaderboard. There's not much to update, at least on page 1. It is as you were for the top 10, 6 under, 5 under, 4 under, for those either inside or tied for inside of the top 10. We are, of course, playing at Club 72, the Hanul course. And for this opening round of the OK Savings Bank, OKMAN Open. See some names scattered around this 4th or 5th page still out on the course. We will watch them with keen interest as their back nines continue to develop here on SBS Golf. It is 3:06 p.m. local time in Incheon. The early stages of the back nines for our featured groups. This is the Uni Na on the 11th tee. 330 meters from the blocks to the pin. Next up from the fairway, on this long par 5, methodically picking her way across it with 2 good strokes to start it off by Pae So Hyun. With a little bit of wind at her back. It was a good attempt to solve by Peng Min-ji, but admittedly short. Extra time to go through the final stages of preparation. It's a good up at 10. We're hopeful that we're at the tail end of the rain here. Certainly doesn't look or sound as bad depending on where you are on the course, of course, because they are undoubtedly still dealing with it at 18. Uni Na with a very significant right to left swerve. Takes her away from the green, but just short of the bunker. Nosumi at 10. Almost directly alongside her group mate. That's another nice approach. The oohs and ahs from the gallery, and they are warranted for that delightful up by Hung Yumin. Back to 10. Pei So-hyun, the last approach. Her third on the par 5. When finally come. Maybe she was used to overcompensating, but did not need to there. Nayunina. And she absolutely takes advantage of a final break in the weather. Inside of 2 meters, and even that might be underselling how good of a hit that was. To 18. Yumina, just a little pitch and roll. Gravity does its thing next. Her work cut out for her, looking for the birdie there. Pei So-hyun, let's look for 2 under, and she is taking a little bit of extra time going through the motions. She feels like, and probably rightfully so, that it's one of the most significant moments of her round thus far. Here she goes, starting it on its way. If that was 100% power needed, she was probably 95%. Now Yunmina to save a par. It's a confidence booster. She hits the turn. back to 10, and it's deceptively slow up the hill. Extra power, and she sails right on by. And similar troubles for Hung Yumin at 11 as she is misaligned and kicks out the side. The birdie drought that had been plaguing the course is finally ended by Pak Young. It is number 4 for her today. She has had quite the success in these early holes. Happened on the front and is continuing, at least for now, on the back. The same, unfortunately, cannot be said for Uni Na, who will be ruining that missed opportunity. It's just one little nudge to get her the rest of the way, and she can immediately switch focus to what is in front of her. For Bang Min-ji on 13, it was that outside look at a birdie. The approach game remains something of an Achilles heel for her. She's just leaving her putter with too much work, and it's making it really, really difficult to consistently not only challenge, but succeed in the putts for birdie. Jung Yoon-ji, she has been patiently waiting for that result. It is 4 holes in between birdies, now up to a very solid 2 under for the round. to 12, Hung You Mean. +1 as she begins this first of the 2 par 3s on the back 9, and she is well off line to begin drilling that into the rough off the right. Swinging and blast with a nice cut from up the hill into the fairway by Pak Young. And now Kim Min Sun's 7. She's 1 under after 13 holes. Her approach from the fairway at 14. Whether it's the breeze or a fortuitous bounce, she started in the fairway and ended up on the green. Not quite ready to get underway from the fairway there, but that is where we will head as soon as we come back. This is round 1 of 3, 54 holes of stroke play to determine a champion at the OK Savings Bank OK MAN Open. We are here from a rainy Club 72 sky course where the skies are gray on this opening round Friday. Stay with us. Well, the waterfall here at Club 72 has a little extra hydration today. On a Friday afternoon in Incheon, the rain has calmed, but the precipitation is still very much evident, as you can see on our camera lens. Droplets everywhere, and soft greens abound. Now that they have survived the wind and the rain and its worst, the players are rewarded with some favorable conditions, as No Sung-yi just learned, setting that approach shot just 2 or 3 feet away from her target. Not to be outdone. Park Young also throws a dart. Really nice approach shot. Uni now found herself a long way off of the green. So Hyun joins the fray. She certainly is used to the camera being right up with her for every single shot with her unbelievable run of form lately. Let's move on to 14. Park Jun leaves herself, well, let's call it 5 feet and change short of the pin. To stay with our featured groups, and even with a improved set of conditions, the birdies remain just as finicky as they were 20-25 minutes ago. looks unlikely that Hung Yamin will be able to get back to even, but never say never. This is an excellent touch from just off the green, inside of a foot, that she stops just short on. Puck AG. This is her 9th hole of the round. She's still at even and is not able to locate the green with her approach. Now also with some troubles arriving on the green at the par 3. We'll have to settle for a par at number 12. Remains frustrated, and you can understand why. Let's go to 18. Imi Jung. Yet to find some sustained success in 2024. One of our absolute and utter superstars from just a couple of years ago. She has gone through her fair share of adversity the last 36 months or so. She is finally able to stitch it all together again, which we know she is more than capable of. It will make it all the more sweet. No swinging with the 6-footer for birdie. That is number 4 today. Just 2 off the top, tied for 6th now. Ju Young back under par. It's her 3rd in this opening round. As we can see, some spots of the course, they're faring much better weather-wise. Not the case at 14, as Jung Yoon-ji well knows. Despite that, into the wind, she plays a master stroke. Birdie is very much on for her. Now Yuni Na tracking it, finding it, dead center of the fairway. Yamin is next, +1, still hasn't fully recovered from that double bogey at 9. Shape-wise looks good. Catches the fairway, stays in it, and is just past her group mate there in terms of the depth off the tee. Buck AG, she was making a direct path to the rough on 18, her 9th hole. Trying to get up and down for par, and she is well more than halfway there. Onwards to 12. 170 meters, this par 3, the longest of the 4 on the Sky course. Given a little extra push by the wind, and maybe not buries herself, but finds a thick set of rough. Jung starting this left, hoping it would come back online. That return to center line evades her the whole way down. Did have a hole-in-one last year. They were Club 72. I think today makes it all the more unlikely with those big gusts. Looking onto the green, but to the right of the pin. Back to number 14. ENG short after 3. 380. There's no doubt this is one of the trickier par 4s. And as we critique the approach game, we remember that she has one of the softest touches from around the green, just about jars it from the fairway. So Yan off the right. A little left to right breeze, no doubt influencing the result of her tee shot. To 14, Jung Yoon Ji. Oh, that will feel excruciating having just gone right at the bitter end. Fast and furious, we continue an 8-iron at 115 meters. Park Jun, she'll be a-okay with that. Speaking of par 3s, this is 16. Lee So-young quietly going about her business. She's 2 under. Looking for a strong start once again. We'll give that a passing grade, but it's not going to cause anyone to offer a second glance. Sheikh Amin, after 15 holes of the first round, is even. Another solid but not knock your socks off level tee shot. Straight down at the flag from the fairway. Despite that seeming advantage, what seems to have been an advantage, plunks it in the bunker. Solid up from No Sungi. She tries to go up and down for her par. And this with the slightest bit of assistance, Hung Yamin is able to reach and will be in a enviable position on that side of the green. To a couple of feet shy, Lee So-young with a par here at number 16. Number 12 making a beeline to the pin. However, glass half full says that's an excellent shot from off the green. Glass half empty says excellent, but nothing to show for it. And 16, Che Gabin. In a long and consistent battle to get to under par. And despite a pretty solid look, she will have the letter E beside her name for at least one more hole. No Sungi did all the hard work. Show for a good approach from around the green. Speaking of approaches, Chung Yoon-ji at 15. It is 124 from the fairway for her second shot. par she had to work for. It's a par that she ends up writing down. Back to 15 more approaches. And this is an expert job of avoiding the sand trap. Maybe, despite the miss, Peng Minji will get a push from that near make from off the green. How many times have we seen in her illustrious career that sometimes all she needs is just a little spark to set the round ablaze? Could be the end, and is the end of a quest that stretches 4 holes to finally make up for that double bogey at 9. Hung Min is back to even. A really well played par 4. Call that a pensive Pak Yang. Nods her head in approval. And she sees it finally come to rest in the fairway. Some frustration for Uni Na. She blows by the hole looking for par. Quick reset and recovery. Taps in a putt for a disappointing bogey, must be said. McPherson's hole number 6, back outside of the top 50. The inconsistency that was something of her Achilles heel last weekend flares up once more today at Club 72. Deposits that shot, no swinging does, to the left side of the fairway, safely away. Well, it is a foggy trip across the bridge to the mainland, connecting Incheon to the capital area of Seoul. From Club 72, we are playing the opening round of the OK Savings Bank OK MAN Open, the 13th edition of this tournament, with our leaders still tied at the top, 3 of them at 6 under par. Nearing our third hour of coverage here at Club 72. So grateful that you could carve out some of your Friday afternoon and evening to join us here on the LPGA Tour of Korea. My name is Adam Jenkins. On behalf of our SBS Golf crew, you are more than welcome to the 23rd tournament of the 2024 season. The conditions, they're less than ideal, and the players are probably mentally prepared for that to be the case all week long as they pursue this $800 million purse. There is 144 of that for our eventual champion, which we will crown on Sunday. Park Young was thoroughly disappointed with how she finished the tournament last week. She's looking for a bounce back here this week. But certainly, we are learning that the advantage was to those who teed off early this morning before the weather really took a turn for the worst. Knott remains solid off the tee. She needs the other facets of the game to join her at that incredible marker. Sungi on 13. That little raised lip at the left of the green. She ends up in a fairly comfortable position. ENG will stare at that for a few extra seconds. That's not going to impact where it stops. A bit befuddled as to how that shot ended up on the green. Back to the par 4 13th. We approach. It's hung up on the fringe. Unfortunately, the putter's still a bit slow to arrive to this tournament. She is middling as a result. Fringe, decent, but little to show for it. And just the simple but necessary tap and finish for Chung Yin-ji. Absolute heartbreaker. Hovering over the lip. Laughs off the frustration. It's pretty much all she can do. Okay, June, that is now 5 pars in a row. Still comfortably at that 3 under mark. unjust to say that we're in a bit of a rut right now in terms of the birdies. They are a luxury. See if Pak Yang can buck that trend. She is also slightly misaligned. Her misses to the inside left. .14, 146 from the fairway, a 6-iron. Hung Yu-min slightly, and ever so slightly into the wind. She is short, stuck on the fringe. Now Im Jin Young at 1 under, her final hole before the turn. Could have used an extra club with the benefit of hindsight. For Uni now at 14 and 8 iron. It's been the part of her game that has been frustrating the past 2 tournaments, and perhaps even a bit beyond. The approaches. See her body language tell you right away she was not satisfied with where the flight of the ball was taking her, and it takes her short and off the green. Osungi has not had the same troubles. This is a tricky one. Down the hill from basically the fringe, but it does not prevent her from reaching 4 under par. Birdies on either side of a bogey at 12. She is back to a tie for 6th position. On the green with work to do. Marches off with the same score that she began the hole with. Seems to be the case on 14. Uni now was always going to be up against it from off the green. Shaped almost certainly the way Nosugi would have wanted that to, giving herself the clearest path to the green with her next on the par 4. Park Young, unsure. Kicks over towards the bustling bushes. The rain may have stopped, but the wind is still very present. Going to chip this from just before the fringe at 14. I'll take it back. She's playing putter, though the swing path looked a lot like pitching wedge. Imagine she will feel like she made the right call. Requisite adjustments made of that amount of breeze. Pin high is a very satisfying, results. Here it goes at 16, but just inside. Speed was right there, line just off by a fraction. Pungminji needs it to straighten out. She remains snake bitten. The frustration mounts with every hole that passes without a birdie. You mean from frustrating to just borderline disappointing. A 4-footer for a par that runs the loop and pops back out the other side. It's much more like it. Anything outside of 10 feet, you'll trade that in for a 3-footer every time. 6.2 meters downhill from the fairway to the green here for Pak Yang Young. She'll land that pretty much flush with the fringe and trickle on. Next up on this approach, reaching for a bit of extra club. This should be okay to clear the sand. It is in that wide berth of the fairway just before the putting surface. Peso-Hyun also going down the hill on this incredibly long 380-meter par 4. She's a little bit left, plays the safe route, avoiding the sand altogether. We haven't seen one of these in a few minutes. Cross our fingers for Kim Min-sun 7, looking for birdie. Little right to left break on this putt. And there it is, 2 under. Finally a change at the leaderboard. Great approach shot setting up. She was even passably on for eagle. Im Jin Young for a par at the midway mark. She goes out with a 35, excuse me. Her birdie came at 5. She's tied for 43rd. Pak Ji-young, she is one of the first groups really to near the end, at least those that we have kept some tabs on over the last 2 hours and 16 minutes. It's a good approach for her. Precisely what Bang Min-ji needs. Needs to climb 7 meters and she's 118 out. Imagine this is a 7-iron. A little bit of a push from the wind and a helpful kick. That is one of her best of this opening round, but she must take advantage of it. So-young, 156 on her final hole. 530 meters this par 5. She's got the fairway wood with her third, excuse me, and is comfortably on. Back with Chung Yun-ji on 17. Trying to stay as close to the front left bunker as she can while obviously avoiding it. But she's on the opposite side of the green, and as we zoom out, you'll see there's some work to do, although depth-wise it was spot on. Nine iron for Hung Yumin. She had effectively wiped out a double bogey from 9, but she has dropped a shot since returning to even. +1 as she looks past the sand traps, needs to follow the inside of that U on the horizon, and that is marvelous. Two and a half meters at the very most. Herself within 6 once again. Bae So-hyun on 14, just a gentle pitch, lift it up, let it sit and roll. And the backspin to keep it in the immediate vicinity. Good touch. Yunina is able to avoid the mud pit, but littlest club than she needed to play. She ends up short. No Seung-yu with a bump and run at 14. It has been an understandably common score on this par 4. 380 meters, in case you missed it. Everyone's basically needing their second shot just to get them to the end of the fairway, and from there, it's par setup time. Chung Yun-ji into the wind, back across the width of the green. She's slightly beneath the hole. And we'll need one more tap to get it the rest of the way. Back to 14. In fact, only 9 birdies here all day long. Park Yang-gung would like to make that 10. A little bit more luck playing down the left side. There's an outside chance at a birdie. Well, this is a very favorable chance for one for Bang Min-ji. The second to last hole, trying to bring herself under par in what would be 5 shots back. She'll feel the relief. Tied for 43rd, just her second of the round. 5 and 17. Good recovery from a bogey on the par 3. Going to climb ever so slightly on Bae So-hyun in the last moment or two before the cup. Should move left to right. There it goes. Well read, well struck. And the birdie to reflect that. 4 holes to go for AJ Hyun 2. Playing on the front 9. Really see the amount of rain we've got today in all of these bunker shots. Little ponds appearing in just about every single sand trap. Unina successfully manages to avoid the one closest to the green. She'll putt in with the lob wedge. Up and down for her par. Well, of all the players still on the course, No Seung-hee is the closest to the leaders. This for a par at 14, just guides it in. She is in a current 7-player tie for 6th position at 4 under. And now Park Ju-young trying to end the opening round with a birdie here at the par 5 down the hill. It picks up the speed. The line looks decent. Roll over the top of the inside of the cup. Quickly Mark checks the break and waits to formally conclude the day. Young successfully delivers herself into the 15th fairway. We'll go to the 15th green next. One of the best setup shots for Hung Yoo-min. Can she carry it over the line from here? No, she cannot. I don't know if she over or underestimated the line, but alas, it'll be +1 for one more hole. Didn't expect that to disappear from view. Just a bit short into the wind from No Seung-hee. And now at 18. This is for a round of 69. The putt for birdie for Lee So-young. Don't need much to get this started. Gravity will do the rest of the work. She and the rest of her group all staring down short par putts. Back to the front 9 where AJ Hyun 3 is looking to avoid that result. Starts this above the hole, starting to drop, but it looks a bit slow. In the end, had the pace to get there. As she meanders through the break, drops down to the inside left of the hole, and she will have the tap-in finish. With the 70 on Friday for Lee So-young. And a bogey-free round, nothing to shake a stick at. That's a birdie on each of the front and back 9. She trails the leaders by 4. And the leaders are unchanged. Lee Dong-un, the rookie, and Lee Jae-eun 2. With 4 under, also a fairly popular score. 7 players still tied at that mark. And then an additional 10 at 3 back, 3 under. It is nearing the bottom of the clock, 4:30 p.m. the time locally here in Incheon. We'll take a quick break and come back with some more from the Sky Course, which has finally settled down, thankfully, at Club 72. Back to work we go. No Seung-hee on the approach at 15, leaves it a touch short. Will make things rather complicated. From the rough just before the fringe. Now Hung Yoo-min, she was really trying to find a little extra torque, but she sacrifices a sure thing and ends up right into the sand. Next on the approach, on the par 4, it is a successful one at that, hitting and sticking almost right beside the impact point. 16, but let's not kid ourselves. That is an unfavorable position. Favorable is how we would describe the power for Uninat. She's able to play the iron instead of a hybrid, which should give her a bit more ability to control this tee shot on the par 3. Runs it down the right side, and we'll have a substantial putt still to find that back quadrant of the green, looking for a birdie. Let's move on to 18. An uphill approach shot with number 3 for Kim In-sun 7. 147 and a 2-meter climb directly over the bunkers. And not quite pin high, but in a decent spot. June is next. She would be absolutely elated with a 68. Would take some kind of a wonder putt about 15 meters away from the pin. This is the OK Savings Bank OK MAN Open on the Sky Course at Club 72. 4:35 p.m. local time. The first 18 of 54 stroke play for the 13th edition of this tournament. Only missing the 1 year due to the COVID-19 pandemic from 2010 to now. Always a nice follow-up from a major championship. Of course, last week at Blackstone, the KB Financial Group Star Championship. And walking this in, she guided it. The stroke was perfect. The judgment was exquisite. And No Seung-Yi, with her 6th birdie of the day, is now just 1 off the lead, holing out from the rough. Very, very impressive shot. Good judgment of the weight. Okay, June will have just the slightest of taps to wrap up the round. I think a lot of the players today are understanding that with the rain, with the wind, this was a bit of a war of attrition. It is 7 consecutive pars to end the round. 2 on the front, 2 on the back in terms of birdies, 1 bogey. Park Hae-jun is a 69 to open the tournament. And now at 15, Bae So-hyun. This will have a little bit of break to the right at the end. At least that's what she had lined it up to do. The forecast, though, seemed predictable, but not quite perfect. She'll settle for a par. So we go to 16, Uninat from the opposite side of the green, just as everyone is a really tough pin to attack here, 16. She currently finds herself down tied for 73rd at +1. And now Kim Min-ju, this the 69th stroke of her round. She will need a 70th. .33% of the way. She finishes 2 under. Also bogey free. 2 and 5 were her birdies. All pars otherwise. Not quite out of nowhere, but certainly quietly, Pak Young has an outside chance to move within 2, but usually the early stand-up tells us all that she was rather sure that wasn't quite going to be enough. She will settle for par here. Now, you mean this reverse angle shows just how tricky a second shot this is at 16. Well above her in the stance. Gentle stroke and weight-wise was good. Now she just needs to clear the mud from the spikes to avoid dirtying the green. Kim Yoon-sun 7. Right to left putt with a bit too much speed and narrowly a bit too much break. She does her final landscaping before the cup. We will take this opportunity to jet over to 16 as Yoon Dae-yeon tries to avoid it dropping to +5. An uphill putt for par. She's going to obviously need to minimize those bogeys tomorrow if she wants a chance at cracking the cut. She is the unfortunate owner of the second highest score of the day. Returning to 18, Kim Yoon-sun 7, a birdie on the second to last hole on each of the front and back. It is a 70 to begin the tournament. And on to 18, Bang Min-ji. Able to reach and quite the comfortable position at that. Turning to 16, well, 14 was tough with only 9 birdies so far in the round. 16 is even more tough with only the 6, half a dozen from 120. Unfortunately for Yoonina, she is not able to increase that total. She becomes the 82nd par on the par 3. Jun Yoon-ji next at 18, starting this right and moving back online. In a world where she could have played a bigger club, she would do. Has to settle for the gentle layup. 3 holes to go, the home stretch. Tee shot to the fringe. A long way over as No Sungi gets started. And if the last hole is any indication, can't rule her out of a birdie despite being off the green. An intense left to right wind certainly will play a factor, especially for those, which will be probably all in this featured group playing hybrid. One of the better ones we've seen off the tee, and shouldn't be surprised by the player that is able to comfortably reach. See if the putter can be just as hot as that hybrid. And now Jung Yoon-ji leaves this a little bit to the outside on 18. That on. Only just, but Bae So-hyun will be putting with their second shot on the final par 3 of the round. More coming through 18. Hwang Min-ji, a little left to right break. Wedges that between the pin and the cup. That is a birdie to wrap up the round. Back to back is very tidy. At the 5th, where she picked up a stroke, dropped one on 16, and it is an opening round 70. That is the unofficial sign that you've made it. When a 4-foot version of your face appears on the banners at a KLPGA event. Obviously, she and EA1 and Unina, all part of that generation, coming up, taking this tour by storm. More from the front 9. Solid up from off the green. Now all about the putter for Kim Min. Stroked well by Unina to begin one of the final holes for her and Hung Yumin and company. Jihyun 3 on number 7 was short of the green, and pitch will take her to the fringe. Trades out for the putter with some work still to do. And now this, starting to swoop inside, straightening out at the end. She'll use her putter twice, no sungi, and should be able to get up and down for par. Pesoyan, it is officially 13.8. We'll go down the slope. Play fairly quick before a little rise at the end. We'll need to start this from our vantage, probably 4 feet or so to the left of the flag. Runs out of speed, and even with a little bit more, likely didn't give the requisite amount of room, but we have the vantage or the perspective and the luxury for being up high and having seen so many groups come through this hole already today. Now on 7, Kim Ae-rim is unable to avoid a bogey. She has 2 holes to go and is unfortunately yielding a stroke here. And ends a run of 3 birdies in a row with that bogey. Three to go for Park Young and 3 under. 3 off the top. Rather difficult to crank out 3 birdies in a row, but all she can do is take it 1 putt at a time. Basically needs to split the ball markers. And this is uphill, so it needs some speed. I'd agree with that look of assessment. A bit surprised at how little the putt moved in the end. We'll settle for a par. For Uni now at 17, it's 95, but probably playing like 105. Has a left to right breeze that will affect where this goes, but just like her group mates, she goes right at the pin. That's an absolute dart she throws with the wedge. I think everyone in the group will feel confident that birdies are possible. And now Pei So-hyun, that was misread altogether. Unfortunately for her, she relinquishes the 1 stroke under par that she sat at with a bogey. Birdies at 3 and 5 today, and now bogeys at 16, and the earlier one at 9. Ji-hyun 3 is on the green at 8, but only just. Last in the group, No Sung-yi. Should be an uneventful par putt, and is so. Money from less than a meter. She has 2 holes to play to find 1 more stroke to make it a 4-way tie at the top. In the context of the first 36, this is a pivotal putt for Yoo Hyun. Jetted off to the right and started to come back, but 20 centimeters off to the outside. Keep her at +4. Back to the front 90, Ji-hyun 3. It's going to move to 2 under. Lacking a little bit of speed and a little bit of line. Not a recipe for success generally. 8 and 9 still to play. Par 3 will be next. Our featured group has reached the 17th, 351 meters. No Sung-yi still has the honors. You mean this tournament with a little extra special meaning for her as one of the players who had the OK Golf Scholarship. She is back after a 2-week hiatus recovering from a back injury. She admitted that the back pain is not completely healed. It's still around, but in the lead up to the tournament, she said she's preparing well, according to what I have. Wanting to, quote, repay the support I received from OK Financial Group during my junior years with a good result in this competition. Hovering around even with that make, which is where Uni Na would like to get. Deceptively difficult shot here as it's uphill and will move almost right away. And now will move on line. Yes, with a bit less speed, probably would have been able to go. As we reach 5 p.m. local time, the end of our third hour of coverage, we can reset the leaderboard. No Seung-Yi has finally made it look a bit different. She's within one with just 2 holes to play. Kim Ji-soo amongst those at 4 under. An Ji-yeon leading the pack at 3 under. Still lots of time for Im Jin-young, only through 11 holes, 8 to go, needing 3 strokes to catch the top. Peng Min-ji headlining the group along with the likes of Chung Yoon-ji and Lee So-young with 70s in this opening round. Also Ji-han Sol, Park Ye-el, Kim Soo-ji, Chae Ae-rim and Kim Min-sol, the final of which is still playing. We'll step aside for a couple of minutes and come back with the final 2 holes in this opening round of the OK Savings Bank OK MAN Open. We're in the home stretch. This opening round Friday, No Sungi has stitched together a very close to perfect opening round. Just needs one birdie in the final 2 holes to turn that from good to great. To reach the green in 2. Next up is Pak Yang Yang, 117. And she also goes directly in line, and maybe a bit unfortunate that the divot catches her ball and is unable to spin back towards the flag, but nice on nevertheless. Okay, so again, after the bogey at the last, is back to even. She has putted so well the last few weeks. Really anything inside of 5 meters and you think she's got a chance. And that would fall in that range. She was closest to the pin after being the furthest off the tee. A really helpful push from the breeze at the back. It is finally being an ally instead of a hindrance. Over to 18. 5 wood in hand, Yuda Hyun. Shortest off the blocks, trying to reach at the last. Lost short in the fairway and around that hill to the left. Big swing as Hung Yamin gets ever closer. Return to the front 9 next. Final hole of the day for EJ Hyun 3. Completes a nice little grouping. Everyone in and around the pin. And Pak Yang Yang, she's very disappointed to be so close yet, having nothing to show for it. Second to last, so she'll have to settle for par. Yuni now, after finding the sand with her drive at the 18th, had some tall grass lingering over top of the trap she had to contend with as well. This will give us a better look, and she topped it and is unable to escape the bunker. The odds wouldn't be in No Sungi's favor, but she's defied those multiple times already today. Willing it back to the left. It caught a piece. The outside of the cup, but not enough to persuade the ball to fall. And that would have been for that elusive 6 under. She'll have to try again on her 18th and final hole of the day. Now Kim Min-sol on the final par 3 of her round, the second to last on the front 9. Can't stay on the green as she ricochets off. And into the rough. And now a clear picture, so evidently Yunina was able to get out of the sand, but she had kicked out of the bunker into the tall grass, landed on a sprinkler head. So she takes her free relief and now has to plot her attack. She's looking at the same information as what we have. Where's the pin? Well, it's a 42-yard long green. Skinny oval in shape. The pin today, it is pretty much in line with the top of the bunker to the left. 13 yards from the back fringe and 7 yards from the right. She's not about to compound a tricky situation by being too overzealous. Saw that creek and said it's not worth the risk. Lays up, and from a much better lie, obviously, she will try and get up and down for a par. One hole behind them, Pei So-hyun in this group. This is a look at a birdie. Some obvious and very understandable frustration as she marches towards the 18th tee. And now Jae-hyun 3 right to left all the way. Tap in par here off the flag. That ends the day. 34 on the way out with 3 birdies, but Fortunately, 37 on the way in, so she'll have to settle for just the 1 under start to the tournament. No Seung-hee grips and rips. Pretty much the exact middle of the fairway with a solid drive. Kimei at 9. Here it comes, but it starts a bit too early, that break. A tricky one, certainly from that distance. It's the end of an opening round, or the opening round for one of our very experienced veterans on this tour. Let's see if she can shift gears tomorrow and be more consistently attacking. Park Young-young goes left and is in towards the creek there in the tall grass. She can spot it. She knows she's dry, but she also knows that it is not going to be the conventional second shot. Now Chung In-soo, right to left and right into the bottom of the cup. That's a confidence builder to end the day. It was always going to be tough to recover from that triple bogey on her 9th hole of the round, but that is a very solid end, and she'll hope for a mistake-free Saturday tomorrow. And so for us at 18, it leaves only Pae So-hyun. One last swing of this driver. Holds the follow through a little bit longer. She was making a direct line towards the sand, but she should have stopped just short of the rough and is away comfortably. And Yoon Da-hyun trying to attack here. She's going to reach in two. Have a rather substantial distance still to go, but it will technically be a putt for an eagle. Next on the approach, Chung Yoo-min. Zip this up, and she absolutely has a chance to birdie from there. Nods her head in approval. And she'll know that that is a putt that if she does not sink, She will be going down on the 18th and final hole of the day. Now that those third shots have been played, our featured group hot on their heels can play their second, starting with No Seung-Yi. Well over half a kilometer long, this 18th hole, 530 meters. So we admit to being fooled by the angles from our camera on the opposite side. It looked like Bak Yang was in some trouble, but she's just fine, obviously. An uneventful second shot for her as well. You can see that basically everything from mid-shin and down was hidden. In a good spot of the fairway in actuality, but Bae So-hyun, we saw the body language, and we saw it being the drive, working its way towards the sand. Just blasts the hybrid and tucks in behind of her partner in the fairway. Back to number 8, Kim Min-sol, trying to stay at 2 under with a 5-footer. No drama, just the way she'd like it. Now it's 18. Daeyeon for birdie from the opposite side of the green. Within 5 feet for the par. She'll be hoping for some slightly more playable pins tomorrow. She was consistently behind the 8 ball through no real fault of her own, but the course and the flags today certainly favoring the power hitters, which generally is where Yunina does a lot of damage, but struggled with some accuracy, struggled with some approaches today, and that's why she finds herself at +1 and with some trouble off the tee at 18 as well. If she does not sink this putt, it will be at least a 74. She started it well, but too much up the hill, not the speed. Well, the tournament's not over for her, obviously, but a long way from the top. 8 strokes back, tied for 88. 3 bogeys between 13 and the end, another one at 6. Birdies at 3 and 10 for her opening round 74. What a way to wrap it all up. Hung Yoo-min, she had to scratch and claw. Despite 2 bogeys and a double bogey, she finishes the opening round with 5 birdies and is on for a 71. One more look. You can see the relief. I think this is close to the perfect event for her to come back working from that back injury. Only 3 rounds, not to say that it doesn't take a toll, but easing herself back in. Dayan had the 1 birdie at 13. Valuable experience for her. But with her partners in the group today showing her the way, let's see if she can pick up some tips and tricks for tomorrow. She's going to need a fairly marvelous second round if she has aspirations of making the cut. Last sets of approaches. Looks like we're going to get out of here just in time with those towering clouds on the horizon. This is Bae So-yeon trying to get close. Finish the day with a birdie. A massive step in the right direction with that lovely approach. .161 for Park Young-kyung. Let's see how she follows up. Reminder, it's about 2 meters and change up the hill to the green from this spot in the fairway. And she's going to sneak just inside of Bae So-yeon. One of her best ons, has that hybrid dialed in to close to perfection. Seung-hee. Bar's been set quite high. 164 is her yardage. Same club in hand. She would love the same result. This feels a bit left, and in fact it's well left and a bit shorter than she would have aspired for, but each and every member of our featured group on in 3 with opportunities for birdie at varying distances. Kim Min-sol also wrapping up her round, though she is on 9. And the front 9, what is typically the front 9, concluding with fairly playable 365-meter par 4, though the back pin placement today makes the approach shots require a little extra power, a little extra length. out at the horizon towards the sea. This Club 72, famous for natural rock beds and rock croppings. The design philosophy, trying to model it after some of the stunning and uber famous courses in Arizona in the United States of America. The Nicholas Design Group, who has had their hands all around the Club 72 facility. In the brochure, you'd read it as drawing inspiration from the Grand Canyon. And when you see those, it's tough to argue.